distance in the light, vibration of a thundercloud.
Hello, loved ones. This is Matt Stevens, and this is the My Sober Addiction Podcast. In the last episode, I was talking about toxic positivity and how it has become a multi-billion-dollar industry. Maybe not so much the toxic positivity, but definitely the industry of self-help, which I'm sure that you can tell by my content that I have been a student of. And I know everybody snickers whenever we mention self-help. It's kind of got a negative connotation when we use the term self-help, right? It's more along the lines of bettering yourself. And if anyone wants to snicker at that, well, then that's their problem, right? That's usually the people who, well, I don't know if they want to, if they're intimidated by it or what, but really, I'm not going to give it too much thought because it doesn't matter what their problem is with it. Call it self-help, call it bettering yourself, call it purple cheesecake. I don't care what you call it. We are on a path of getting better. We're on a path of bettering ourselves. Hello. Getting back to the whole thing about the toxic positivity. Like, for example, with my mantra, we are happy, healthy, wealthy, and free. Now, that is a very positive statement. That's a very good mantra to say over your life. What's bad about that? Happy, healthy, wealthy, and free. Those are all things that we should be striving for. But I'm not going to sell that to you and say that that's the only thing you need to focus on. Because I do understand that where attention goes, energy flows. I'm fully aware of this. So there is a balancing act. And how we do that is by what I've been talking about lately, because it's finally came into my full understanding, I guess, is transmutation. Turning lemons into lemonade, that kind of thing. And I realize it's not as simple as that. A lot of times a lot of people have some very deep trauma, some very deep things in their life. Maybe something happened to them in their childhood. It's rather amazing to know how many people are out here and they have these things that they're packing around with them their whole lives. And it's sad. Well, it's sad that they were ever put in that position in the first place. But it's also sad that I guess it's usually shame is a reason why they don't let that out. It just festers on the inside. And it may be even something that they have pushed to the back of their memory. It may be something that they really don't even remember fully. And I'm not sure how to feel about this, but like when you have someone who goes through, say, some kind of hypnosis, like a hypnotic regression, and things are dredged up from their past that they weren't even aware of until it's brought back up. And then it hits them like a ton of bricks because it's like, oh my God, I hadn't even thought of that. How did I even forget about that? And then you think, well, God, something that tragic, how could you? And that's when we get into the depths of the psyche that I am not qualified to talk about, but I know that it happens. What I mean by the toxic positivity is there's people out there who are selling self-help. They're selling, say, the law of attraction. And I know I pick on the law of attraction a lot. I only do that because it's probably the most popular, the most well-known method of bettering yourself. And yes, I do have my issues with law of attraction, but I mean, I like more of it than I dislike. I kind of pick on that the most, I guess, because it's the one that's most relatable to most people, I guess. So with toxic positivity, what I mean when I say that is there's a lot of people who will tell you, if you want to have a better life, to establish what it is that you want, which I fully agree with, then be as if that is your current reality. You have to get yourself in the vibration of that being if you want to be a whatever. Then you have to get on that level. You have to start vibrating on that. and give thanks to your higher power that this is your reality. And I know it's lying to yourself or whatever the case may be, but it's not really. Only because that reality does exist. It does exist somewhere in one of your many, many multiverse or whatever. And somewhere in your future, it does exist. The little analogy that I use, kind of like where the Earth is on the ecliptical plane right now, this being the middle of June 2024, the Earth is in a particular position on the elliptical plane on its orbit around the sun. Now, I know I may trigger some people there with that whole thing. I'm not here to debate whether or not any of that. Flat Earth, round Earth. I'm a simulation theory guy. I don't believe in either one. Or I believe that both are true. Or I believe there's another option. It doesn't have to be this or that. Anyway, that's getting off the subject. But as an analogy, the Earth is in this position in its orbit around the sun. And the place in space, the region of space that the Earth will be in next month on July 15th exists. Now, that place in space is there. It's just that the Earth has not arrived there yet. When we call that is not as though it were, we start acting the part, right? Like if we want to be a hot rod mechanic, as I used in the last episode, you have to start playing the part. You have to start being that on the inside, and it will manifest on the outside, because nothing is manifested. Nothing is created until it is first created in a mind. But all possibilities are there. The double slit experiment proves that. I've stumbled through explaining the double slit experiment a couple of times on this podcast, and I'm not sure I want to do it right now. The gist of it is the double slit experiment shows us that if something is not being observed, then it is a wave form. It is a possibility. It's this or that, or it's this and that. And that was proven during the double slit experiment. Physics cannot explain the double slit experiment. All they can do is show that it actually is there. What it is they were firing particles at a wall that had two slits in it. And would the particle go through the slit on the right or the slit on the left? It was like, well, it'd go through one or the other. Then oddly enough, after they did this experiment, they went back and they looked at the wall on the back, and it appeared as though the particle went through both slits, because after so many times, it formed a wave pattern on the wall in the back. It's like, well, how's that? It should have been two lines, one for this one or one for that one. How did that happen? So they set up some form of camera, some form of observation. So then they did it again. And then they come back and look, and lo and behold, it's exactly what they expected the first time. Two lines. The only thing we determined is that the particles will behave in a way that we expect. When we're observing them, they will do exactly what we expect them to do. They collapse to something solid. When they're not being observed, they remain just a field of energy, a field of possibility. The word that I'm looking for is escaping me right now, but I'm in my flow, so don't judge me. So, the people who sell positivity, they want you to ignore the bad things that have gone on in your life. They want you to ignore all of the traumas, all of the, well, like as I said, the bad things in your life. And I do agree that where attention goes, energy flows. But I also agree that we have got to heal those. In the case of us drug addicts, we've got to, well, for one, address what caused us to slip off into this in the first place. And I know that's making excuses for ourselves, whatever. This is us talking here. We can do this. Mostly, we need to forgive ourselves for doing that. We need to forgive ourselves for succumbing to addiction. We've got to get over it and move past it and transmute it into something positive. I know that I've been reading in the Kabbalion lately, and I've been talking about it a lot. It's finally kind of registered exactly what transmuting means. With the whole truthers and the New Agers and the love and light crowd. Alchemy, oh God, they get so excited. You mention alchemy and they're like, oh yes. Anyway, alchemy is changing one thing that is not so desirable into something that is desirable. The examples usually used is turning lead into gold. That's where the term alchemy originated from. But how it really means is like with spiritual alchemy is how do we take something that's bad or not so desirable and turn it into something that is desirable, such as addiction. And you may need to peel the onion back. You may need to peel the layers back just a little bit more because there may be an underlying issue. Why did we slip into addiction? What triggered that? Can we find a way to forgive that, be it something someone did to us or whatever the case may be? We have to truly forgive it. That's where like exercises such as Ho'oponopono come in handy. And I am not an expert on Ho'oponopono. I know that it's a big deal right now, and I've looked at it, and it's very cool. And that's a means of forgiving yourself, loving yourself, and giving yourself permission to go off and create an amazing life for yourself. Thus, transmuting that negative thing in your life into something positive, such as addiction. I have transmuted that into this podcast. It has given me a means of writing a memoir about my time in addiction. I had to go through that in order to know in a way that others can relate to, other addicts can relate to. Because, like, for example, I have a counselor. God bless him. He's never been an addict. I don't hold that against him. I've been in groups with him in the past where other addicts were like, oh, well, what do you know? You've never been addicted to nothing, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, dude, give him some slack. This guy's very smart. He doesn't have to be here. Okay. He just loves people enough where he's trying to help. Right. But it does help to have someone who has been there and knows what you're going through. Like when I was going through one of my many detoxes, I would like to say it was my last one, but it wasn't. But it was probably, it was a very bad one. It was one where I actually made it through. I made it to the 16th day anyway. And during that time, I was really trying hard. I do wish that I'd had something to fall back on. And maybe had I looked a little bit harder on YouTube or even known to, I guess, or I'm sure there are resources out there for me, where addicts who have been through it and that I can relate with. I know they relate with me and not make you feel so damned alone. Because when you're going through that, you feel so incredibly alone. And you can let your brain speak to you and say, that's ridiculous. Of course, lots of other people have gone through this, right? We all have. But it's very personal. Addiction and detox is a very personal, very deeply personal time in our lives where, gosh, you really go into the depths of your self. And I mean that as in two words, yourself. You go into the depths of who you are, the what you are, and maybe even the why. So we can't always ignore the negative things in our life. Sometimes we have to, there needs to be some forgiveness. We need to acknowledge that. Yes, that was bad. Yes, that freaking sucked. However, I got past it. And this is my story. This is my proof that I can overcome anything. This is my proof that if I can accomplish that, if I can accomplish sobriety, if I can get off of heroin, or even worse these days, I guess, is fentanyl. If I can get off of fentanyl and move on with my life, and listen, I don't care if you're using maintenance meds, freaking do it. There's no judgment here. Anyway, that was another side note because I get so freaking sick of hearing about all these, I'm not going to point them out, I'm not going to name any names, but these groups who really shun people for using maintenance meds. Listen, that's your journey. You do it however you need to do it. If you're repairing relationships and paying your bills and taking care of business and being there for the people that matter, then don't worry about it. As long as you're not getting high and, sneaking off and being like, yeah, okay, the kids are cool. I'm going to go in here and do this. No, that's not sobriety, obviously. But if you're on some kind of maintenance meds, there's no judgment here. Do it. Whatever it takes. Because there's people on maintenance meds for blood pressure. There's people on maintenance meds for diabetes. And don't give me that, well, that's different. Because, unfortunately, and I'm not picking on anybody, but people who are on meds for those issues, they could make some lifestyle choices and come off of those meds. Oh, yeah. In a lot of cases, they could adjust their diet. They could lose some weight. There's a lot of things that they could do to come off of those meds. Now, I realize that's not always the case. So please don't get triggered and think, oh, Matt's singling out diabetics and saying that they should be able to come off their meds. I'm not saying anything. I'm saying that whatever it takes to keep them healthy is what they need to do. And it's none of my damn business how they do it. Same thing goes for maintenance meds with regards to addiction. That's all. So, here I've been going on for like 20 minutes trying to get on talking about toxic positivity. We need to address those issues and forgive whoever and whatever needs to be forgiven. Ourselves, primarily. You've got to forgive yourself for doing that. You got to forgive yourself for burning, 20 years of your life or however many years of your life you did. It's over. That's done. Move on. Start from now. Those are years you can't get back, you can't make up for, let it go. But make something out of it. I mean, if that's not proof that you can overcome anything, if that's not proof that you can accomplish great things, then what is it? The fact that you beat addiction, however you beat addiction, well, you got to continue to beat it every day. I would edit that part out, but I think I'm not because I am human and I'm going to leave that in there. We never fully beat addiction. When we get in the mindset of we've beaten it, that's when you hear about the guy who fell off the wagon and relapsed after 14 years of sobriety. How did that happen? Well, he got comfortable. He thought, I've already beaten addiction. It won't hurt if I do this. It won't hurt if I take a perk 10 this weekend with a couple of beers tonight. No big deal. 2 weeks later, he's shooting heroin, right? So anyway, that's toxic positivity. And there's a lot of people out there who would tell you to don't think about the bad things in your life. Just focus on the good. Focus on the good. Focus on the good. And I agree with them. Do focus on the good. But address the things that need to be addressed. And transmute that into something positive. Transmute that into your story. Transmute that into where you can go to other addicts and say, look, dude, I understand what you're going through. You can do this. Here's my story. Be an inspiration to other people. Be an inspiration to people who need it. Lord knows we had a time in our life where we needed that inspiration. I sure did. And I can't say it wasn't there. I didn't know if it was there or not. I didn't know to look for it. It sure would have been a whole lot easier if I'd had a podcast to tune into, and I'm sure they were there. I just wasn't hip to the game. And like another form of toxic positivity, I guess it's not necessarily toxic. It's just something that gets on my nerves, is that whole corporate positivity. See, like I work for Amazon and there's a lot of toxic positivity there. Anyway, but I used to work for in the rent to own business. Okay. And especially if one of the regional managers or if one of the owners were to stop in and maybe spend the day with us at the store, oh my God, everybody had to act so upbeat and just chipper. And we're having a great day at rent from us. How can I help you? We love our customers, even though probably about at least 20% of our customers are past due on their payments and they suck and whatever. Point is, we always had to have that corporate rah bullshit, fake, positive attitude. We're having a great day today. Yeah. You know what I'm talking about. Manager comes up and talks to you. How's it going? I'm freaking great, dude. I'm having a fantastic day. It's so fake. I couldn't stand that shit. That's why I had to get out of it. But anyway. Most of you understand what I'm talking about. And I understand we need to be positive. I mean, I wouldn't recommend you do the opposite of which and be like, oh shit, we're having a crap day here at Rent From Us. Yeah. Why are you calling? I'm not saying that either. I don't know what I'm saying. I just know that it gets on my damn nerves. That's all I know. It's just funny, I guess. Anyway, so let's transmute all the negative things in our life. Well, okay, I mentioned the Ho'oponopono. I'm going to go back to that for a second because Ho'oponopono is a very good thing. Let me see if I can remember it right off the top of my head. Ho'oponopono, it's a prayer. I've just looked it up. Yes, I paused the recording so I could look it up. Don't judge me. Anyway, the Ho'opono prayer goes like this. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. And that's all you do. It's that simple. But if you really think about it, it's still pretty profound because that's really all you need to say, I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. And I love you. And I know that it's so simplistic that it sounds ridiculous. But hey, that's some like ancient, traditional Hawaiian prayer. And it's become a whole little fad. Now, I don't know about that part of it. I mean, maybe it doesn't warrant an entire movement. Hang on, I got coffee. And it's getting cold. Damn it. Anyway, but the point of it is so that you can address the issues and move on. Now, if it were as simple as saying, I'm sorry, please forgive me, I love you, thank you, I love you. Next, then that would be great. But we need to address the issues of why. And then there's usually some underlying issues as to why. There's usually some trauma. There's usually something inside you that you need to heal. And by heal, I mostly mean let go of. A lot of times we attach a lot of meaning to this or to that. A lot of times it's kind of like the person who went and became a lawyer or a doctor. Because why? Because that's what their parents wanted them to do. If you're that person who went off and became a doctor, because why? Because everybody said that that's what you ought to do. Because doctors make a lot of money and they're well respected and all that good stuff. And you went and did it. And you live your entire life that way. And you really never loved it. You really never had any passion for it. That's something that you would have a very hard time letting go of, right? That's something that you need to really get down in there deep and figure out why you did it. The Ho'oponopono. It is so simplistic, but at the same time, it's very powerful because it addresses the things that we need to address. So anyway, there's that. As usual, I have a whole bunch more that I meant to get into with this here episode. I've got probably about 4/5 of this outline that I didn't even touch on. And that's good because that means I've got a whole other episode already ready to go. Yeah. Maybe, just maybe, I will be through that part of the Kybalion. Right now I'm in the law of correspondence part. The next part is law of vibration. And maybe by the time I record this, I will have been through the law of vibration. The Kybalion is not a book that you can just breeze through. It's something that you'll read a few pages, put it down, think about it, let it sink in, all that good stuff. And then pick it back up and move on. Or you may go back and reread that part. That's happened many times. Anyway, point is, right now I'm on law of correspondence. And next I'm moving on. I believe the next one, yes, is law of vibration. And this outline is speaking a lot of vibration. Well, it's actually talking about correspondence and vibration. So maybe it's a good thing that I'm saving this portion of this outline for that. So that way, when I do get to it, I can do both. Yeah. Anyway, loved ones, I just wanted to kind of talk on the whole toxic positivity part and what I really meant by it. And also to have a little fun poking at the whole corporate positivity, because that's always fun, right? You know how it is. You see those people, they get so, yeah, man, we're having a freaking great day, blah, 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 whatever. And I'm not saying that they should be poo-poo or nothing either, but sometimes you want to be like, get real, dude. Come on, dude. Let's get it. What's on your mind? Let's get it out. Let's get it out. Let's talk about it. Let's get over it. Let's get past it. maybe transmute it into something positive. I don't know. But let's get past it so we can truly move on into something good, right? All right, loved ones, I finally have the podcast officially on YouTube. I upload to Buzzsprout, but Buzzsprout is a podcast hosting platform, and then they send out your episodes to all of them. That way you only have to upload it once. You upload it to Buzzsprout, and then it sends it out to Apple Podcasts, it sends it out to iHeartRadio and Spotify and all of them. So anyway, but Google Podcast or Google Cat, whatever they call it, is not doing that anymore. And what they are doing now is, instead of having Google Podcasts, it's now on YouTube. So YouTube is now hosting official podcasts. How we did it before was we would take this audio and convert it to video and then upload it to YouTube as a video, which is fine. But I don't do video podcasts, at least not yet. I'm working on it. I really didn't have a place to do it, but now I do. So I guess it's really just kind of taking the plunge to get into that. But I really think that's going to be more for along the lines of interviews. But whatever. Anyway, the YouTube channel, Matt Stevens, MSA, is going. No, I don't have any subscribers or whatever, but that's where you come in, dear loved one. I need you to, when you are on YouTube, to look up Matt Stevens, MSA, and at least give me a subscribe. So that way, at some point in the near future, I can start doing live streams, which you can then participate in or not. Because, like, for example, the other day I was driving. I know everybody does this, and I know it drives everybody crazy too. I guess I got inspired, and I had an entire monologue or a dialogue or whatever you want to call it. I had a whole rant, and it was freaking beautiful. I mean, I spoke perfectly. Yes, I was speaking out loud in my car. I gave a whole thing, and I was like, wow, that's amazing. I need to write that down, or I got to remember this. Oh yeah, I'll definitely remember this. I'm not going to forget this. No, this is too good of stuff to forget. Well, guess what? I don't have a freaking clue. What I should have done is got my phone out and, if nothing else, recorded a voice thing, right? But some of the best times we get inspired and have some of our best thoughts, it's kind of spontaneous. And also conversations between people, be it in a chat or in a live stream or whatever, that's when inspiration can strike the most. So I'm working on doing that. And I have not been posting a whole lot on Substack lately. It's just been really busy and just been a lot going on. Not making excuses. I'm just telling you what's up. So yeah, Substack, Matt Stevens. If you'd please subscribe there, it doesn't cost you anything. You can donate if you want. That'd be fantastic, but it's not required. And YouTube, Matt Stevens, MSA. And then, of course, wherever you get podcasts, a rating and or review would be fantastic as well. I love you, loved ones, and I will be back directly.
There is a distance in the light.